We were going to a mother country.
We're only thinking that we're going to come here for 5 years.
It was a dream, really.
We thought it was paved with gold, but it wasn't as good as we thought, you know.
6 o'clock in London, I was in Stoke and Trent for 11. I was in Shelton Bar at the workplace for 12.
Yeah, we don't know so life rough and tough, you know. I can't all them shits them set up. Nevertheless, don't give up, you know. Fight the struggle.
In Jamaica, opportunity, you know, wasn't that great. The school system was poor. They have one university for the whole Caribbean. They have a few good colleges, which was expensive to go to. Coming to England was the best year. Are you going to work on the farm? Or cut cane? I mean, the opportunity was that great. But here, the opportunity was that great either, but you couldn't tell till you come with it. No, that's not particular reason, because more or less everybody was just going to UK because there the Queen come out there, Princess Margaret come out there. So everybody just, because England and Jamaica was pretty close in those days, you know. So coming to the UK was just like coming, who are really coming to another Caribbean island to go say it was nice.
I came here when I was 14 years of age, went to school, finished my schooling over here. From there I went to work in a papa. It was like a foundry and all that thing. When I went there I was on 25. And I leave and went to the mine. But I used to do 3 shifts. It's like go from home to home. It was filthy, don't get me wrong. It was a filthy job. But when you have a friend for life. But wherever you go to see a miner, there's always friendship, you understand?
Polish Community Multicultural Association actually started from the roots was in the 1980s, and all the members, the original members, are still here with us today. They serve the entire community as it is. We have members reaching as far out as Stafford, We not only multicultural, but we've become international in the sense that we have been funding places like Haiti and sending money through the Jamaican High Commission. We are also an association where people can come and meet from every background and actually feel as though they're part of each other. They can become friends, they can learn about cultural things, learn about each other's roots, and they can sit back and become members. Coolbridge Community Multicultural Association is one of the oldest foundations that we have of the black community in Stoke and Trent, and we welcome all people from all backgrounds, and we are traditionally for socializing and for functions, for holding meetings. We can accommodate people from various backgrounds, and we are actually always have open doors for things like weddings, funerals. We hope that people are always willing to come and approach us because we're very, very approachable. We hope that this film would not only just reach the minority, but we hope that it will reach the majority of people within this community and other communities.
Rock you cool and deadly, Original vibrations I do play.
I was born in Jamaica, in Kingston, Jamaica, at the Jubilee Hospital in Kingston. And prior to that, my parents who were both from St. Mary in Jamaica, the parish of St. Mary. Jamaica is divided into 3 counties, Cornwall, Middlesex and Surrey, and then it's subdivided again into parishes. So my paternal and maternal parents, grandparents and parents, are from St. Mary. My dad lived in America for many, many years in the 40s. My mother always wanted to be a nurse, and of course back then in the early 50s, I think it was about 50, probably 1953, I think it was, my mother came to England first and to train to be a nurse, and then my father came a few months after that. At that time, I think it was Enoch Powell was the Member of Parliament, and it's kind of like just after the war and stuff like that, and he went over to a lot of the Caribbean islands. I don't know about other parts, but I know the Caribbean islands, to encourage people to come to England, to train as nurses, drive the buses, conductors, whatever. So as I said, my mother wanted to be a nurse, so she took the opportunity to come. And then I was left with my grandmother and my maternal grandmother in a place called Adaptation in St. Mary. I went to kindergarten from the age of 3 until probably about 6, and then I went to boarding school, prep school, until I came to England at the age of 11.
Jamaica, St. Elizabeth, from year 1957. I'm a farmer's son. As we tell him, my original grandfather is from Scotland. And then come to the Caribbean and married to this African woman. and have about 23 children. You have to defend women. I mean, Churchill was out there, the Queen come out there, Princess Margaret come out there. So everybody does, because England and Jamaica was pretty close in those days, you know. So coming to the UK was just like coming home really, coming to another Caribbean island. People say it was 9,000 miles away, which I didn't know that. I mean, in Jamaica, opportunity, you know, wasn't that great. The school system was poor. They have one university for the whole Caribbean. They have a few good colleges, which was expensive to go to. So if you don't have money, you don't get no education. Even now in the Caribbean, if you don't have money, you don't get any education. So, because there was that many English people in the Caribbean, you didn't look at it any different. Because them used to run everything, innit? They run the church, they run the post office, they run the school, they run everything. So if them run everything, you're part of them every day. So coming to England wasn't a big problem.
My name is Sharon Dockery and I'm the wife of Mike Dockery. I was born in Jamaica and lived in Jamaica. I went to summer schools in America, and I had mainly American and Canadian teachers at school in Jamaica. I came because I was meant to finish my schooling. My mom was here. My dad was in America. My mom was here, and I had lived with my auntie, but they thought schooling in England was good, and it was thought at that time that schooling would be best. So that's one of the reasons why I came. So I really felt when I started having our children, I wanted to go back to Jamaica with them because schooling in Jamaica was much, much better. It was a higher standard. So I really wanted my children to be schooled in Jamaica, but it just wasn't feasible.
Well, my old man come from America, 1942. He went to America in manpower, go and work when time they was packing ammunition like in Illinois. And when he come back to Jamaica, he have 12 sons, 4 daughters, and all of us was on plantation. Nobody go to college. And when he come home in 1942, 1954, he says his mom to my mother, say, well, none of the boys go to college and they becoming man. So they got to go and make a route for themselves. So he said to the old lady that I'm going to England to see what it's like. Because in America then they would train away money. There was work in them time, the war in America. And my father says to my mother, say, he's coming to England, and my old lady said, you're too old. My father said, I'm not going to see what it's like. Because he wasn't poor. In 1945, he had £6,000 in the bank. I come from a rich family. No work for nobody. We have plantation where you can't finish, walk out. You know, and all of us grew up on the farm. And all of us work with the old man and bill him. And when I came here in 1955, I cut about more than 100 ton, more than 200 ton of sugar cane. You know, delivered to sugar estate and at a plantation. But so I didn't know what poverty was. But in them days, you were a boy, you're working for your father, you couldn't put the money in your pocket. Because at 20, I was a boy. When I came as a boy, 20-year-old, but you couldn't call a lad now 20 boy.
I come from Jamaica, in a little parish called St. Andrew. They were opening different opportunities for people that want to travel. Some of the men went to Florida, went to America to farm work. some came to England here, because at that time it was wide open to anybody that wanted to travel. Because we only thinking that we're going to come here for 5 years and go back home. We've work enough money so that we can go back home and we live better than how we were living. We got 3 children, which we left back home with their aunt.
Let's talk more action. Your love it me.
I was born in Portland, Jamaica, in the West Indies. Little place called Cascade. Well, it's funny. Everybody was immigrating. And I remember the time when the Queen visited Kingston, and she says she was looking for people, young people, to come to England who was willing to work. And there would be jobs provided. And I thought, well, it was paradise. England, heard so many things about England, and we thought we were coming to the land of the Holy Land, the land of riches, and the land that everything possesses, So I thought, well, everybody was immigrating, and I was quite young, so I'll take a chance.
My name is Claudette Mullings. I was Daily before, as anyone would know. And I'm from a family of 9, 5 girls and 4 boys, of which we all went to school in Jamaica. I went to a school called Salem in Westmoreland. I went to the elementary school in Beeston Spring. My mother sent me to do dressmaking, of which I did mastered it.
The school that we went to was more or less with English background. So therefore a lot of things. And we sing, get an Empire Day, get the longest bamboo cane you can get and sing, rule, Britannia, Britannia rules the way. Britain never shall be slave. You see, so we have the standard that we were going to a mother country. I mean, I don't know for anyone else, but when we come from Jamaica, we thought we were coming to a mother country. And we thought the standards and everything should have been the same that we were grown up into, because we were already coming to Great Britain.
Big changes. The sheer number of people, and every street have a name. Which in the Caribbean, there's no street name. So that was my first problem, is how I was going to find my way around. Because every street have a name, and if you forget the name, how do you find the street? I mean, simple thing like that you would notice. But that was one of my biggest problems. If I don't remember the street, how do I get back home? The bus didn't have a number. If you miss the bus number, how do I get home? So those things was, more than what people saying. To survive day to day was a big problem. For the whole culture changes, just like that. It's one culture today, and it's another culture tomorrow. You speak English, but you don't speak the same English.
Your road is don't fuckly muggling, a long time the whole of we a struggle. 2 hard way on the double, no more trouble, Pumpkin alongside Christy. See me?
I came from Jamaica. I was born in Smithfield district. Post office was Newmarket. And I came to this country in 1960 in October. I came here the 29th of September, and I started to work on the 3rd of October. When I came here, it was hard to get jobs, especially if you're a Sabbath keeper. So my friend sent me down to the pit, because when I went to the labor exchange, they told me that on the building site, I came here as a builder. And they said on the building site is you have color bar. First time I heard the word color bar. So the best place for me is down the pit. But that was a blessing in disguise, because I could be able to work and don't have any problem with the Sabbath. I thank God for that. As time rolled by, we have children. When we came here, our things were very bad. 4 or 5 families live in one house. We got to share one kitchen, one sitting room, one toilet, one bathroom. So we that came here first, our children don't understand, but we are coming from a far way. And we have God to thank for so far that we have reached. And as time goes by, I spent 1 year before I sent for my wife.
I went to the wrist wires and cables in the Newcastle, and I did what I could and what I did not like it also. So I moved to another job, which I went to Mr. Kipling Bakery in Trent Vale, Newcastle, of which I did well. Everybody liked me there because I was a good worker. So I did not have to be watched with whatever I am doing. I left from there again, and then I worked at Johnson's Tile in Stoke, London Road, of which everyone likes me there too, because I wasn't shirker. I wasn't a shirker, so I did well there. And then I was married in 1961. After my husband Amos sent for me, it didn't stay long before I got married. I came up in October 61, and I married in I came up September, and I married in October. Didn't give me much time. So and I had, after that I was conceived, and I had the first child, which is Dorothy, and the next one is Joseph and Winston, and the last one is Lorraine.
I mix with people. The last place I lived before I left to Jamaica, I lived into a masonette in Newcastle. And my next door neighbor, an elderly man, he called me his son. He came here to see me. He said, "Amos, you're a part of my family." You see, we intermingled so much. When I was up there, if I plant one cabbage, I split it in two. And that's how we interacted. But those days were the days.
I've lived in the Stoke and Trent area for about 47 years. I came here because my partner was here, and then he sent for me. And we thought we could make a good future, and with the intention of going back in a few years' time, but unfortunately it didn't work out that way.
Most people plan for 5 years. Everybody planned for 5 years. I didn't really have any plan. I come, so I didn't have a plan, but nearly everybody I met said they want to come 5 years, raise some money, go back, build a house, or buy a piece of land. But 5 years, no, that was a dream, really.
Well, I was extremely proud of my mum because she went as far as deputy matron of the Manor Hospital in Walsall, you know. And for a black woman to achieve what she had done, even at that time, you know, 60s, 70s, you know, that was quite something. So I'm extremely proud of her. I wanted to be a hairdresser. And then, you know, no, that's not good enough. Because, you know, Jamaicans, there's one thing about it. They might not, even if they haven't got the qualification, they have got great ambition. And their children, they want, their children must be educated. I remember one saying, you know, one relative saying to me, education will set you free. Education and manners. I remember my grandmother saying to me, even if you have not got education, as long as you've got manners, it will carry you through, you know. So I applied to this hospital to do my midwifery because the whole intention was, at the back of my mind, I was still going back to Jamaica. I never really ever settled. So I intended to do my midwifery, do my family planning certificate, and I was going to go back to Jamaica and work as a midwife or something to do with family planning. And I did do my family planning certificate, yes. In the days that, in the years, I would say, you know, about racism and stuff, because apparently when they came to England, there was a saying, no dogs, no Irish, and no niggers, something like that. And my parents, they were blessed because when they came to England, most black people apparently came and they had to rent, but my parents were able to pay down or get a mortgage on a terrace house in Wolverhampton. So that was their first home when they came. And Daddy had to when Mommy was doing her training, back in those days when you're doing your midwifery, I had to go through that as well. The second part of your midwifery, you have to live in, not the nurse's home, but live on the district. There's a home where all of you as student midwives would live. And then you would go out with the midwife, you know, whichever midwife you're attached to. So my mom but she had to sort of sneak home to look after my sister sometimes because, you know, that was part of the requirement. They had to live on the campus, as it were. My parents then decided that I'm coming up and my grandmother would be coming up. So they decided they wanted to get a bigger house, and also ambitious, they wanted to have a semi-detached house or in a nicer area in Wolverhampton. And my father used to do auctioneering as well, as he called it. I think we would call it, what do we call it over here? Estate agent, I suppose. So he had to go to task with these people now because he put in to buy this house, and the lady accepted the offer, and then when it came to it, unbeknown to my parents, there was some underhand thing going on because this was an all-white area, and my parents would have been now going to be the first black people on that road. So what had happened, the neighbours, not necessarily on either side, but the people on that road, they did not want a black person to buy a house on that road. So what did they do? They started to put together, came to see the owner of the house and suggested that they will put together to get the deposit to buy the house rather than to let my parents have this house. But they couldn't. They couldn't muster the money together. And and then my father then threatened the lawyer, you know, when I say threatened, but he said, you know, I know my rights, I've done this kind of work, and I know that I've put my deposit in, you better get it sorted out. So anyhow, but the amazing thing is, yes, we got the house, but what had happened is, that lady, she was really upset now as well, because by this time she had really decided that she's going to go along with her neighbours and decide not to sell it to my parents. And but what had happened, that those people, unbeknown, and it later came out, I mean, we had beautiful neighbours on either side afterwards, you know, they weren't in with that lot that were putting together to, but a lot of them, they were renting. They were renting their houses, so it wasn't even their house. And how dare a black family think that they can come and buy a house and they can't even afford, you know. So that was quite an achievement for my parents, and I just feel I'm glad the type of people, the tenacity they had to find and to make sure, you know, they wanted that house, and why should it, because of racism or anything, that they should be denied, you know. So I'm proud that they stood up, because then, you know, that also gave my sister and I that we do not sort of just sit down and crumble. We're as good as anybody else, you know, and that's one of the things that they taught us, you know, that we can believe in ourselves and we can achieve anything that we want to.
My father said, well, he's got to give them a start. So my old man came to England to see what it's like. And they were in London. And he says he sent for me, the brother that me follow, Paul. And they wanted so many Shelton Bar. And my old lady said, well, you have to do as your father said, because... And I came here, and when I came here, 1955, when I came here, my history in England is, I learned 6 o'clock in the morning. I was in Stoke and Trent for 11. 6 o'clock in London, I was in Stoke and Trent for 11. I was in Shelton Bar at the workplace for 12. And they wanted me to work at afternoons. I told you I've cried 2 years. Because 2 years in England where I am, nobody ever speak to me but not the foreman at work. And a family. And as long as I live, I remember that not everybody is bad. A man named Jack Taylor and his son. I'm telling you, he was the nicest people I've never met in my life. I tell you, only them would speak to you. Call off and have a joke in the cabin, nobody talk to you. It is the loneliest time I've ever spent. You imagine you leave your brothers and sisters at home, you leave home, the moonshine, where you sit down and talk about girls and eat mangoes and moonshine, no shirt, and everything. You come here, I tell you, I was so unhappy.
Keep those troubles right on down, nobody bring those troubles on, yeah, nobody bring them troubles, yeah.
Jamaica, K Valley, St. Anne's. I came here in 1962. Lived in London for a few years. Came up to an auntie who lived here, who had no children. Came to live with her and stayed with her till we got married, and you know, she went back home. When I first came, I did machining, dressmaking, and then for a little while, then I worked at the hospital for 17 years, just over 17 years. I liked it when I came because I thought the people were very friendly compared to London. You know, it seems to have a lot of time for you compared to London. Because I had relations here and they used to tell you what to expect, sort of thing, about the cold and things you couldn't get, but still it was a bit of a shock. It was still a big shock. In Hanley, when I first came up here, and you asked directions, and I was absolutely amazed the trouble people would go to practically take you to where you want to go. In Stoke, yeah, that was amusing, yeah.
Hey, what a joy! I feeling rise with me queen this morning. From I was a boy, I do the same thing, caring, sharing, and love making. What a joy! I feeling rise with me queen this morning. From I was a boy, I do the same thing, caring, sharing, and love making.
When I came here, I was to, you know, very hard work to build, to start the church here. Very hard work, because really the wages in those days was small wages, you know, it wasn't as it is today. I used to work very, very hard, 6 days a week, plus running church Bible studies in the homes to get the people together. I used to live in Basford, and I used to walk from Basford to Tunstall to hold Bible studies there, and so on. And very hard, labor very hard in this city, very hard in this city. Until, of course, other churches has opened up other churches. Until today, you can see so many black churches around in Stoke and Trent now. When I first came here, Stoke and Trent was in a really dilapidated condition. When I left London to come here, when I told the people in London that I'm going up to Stoke and Trent, I said, "Wait, is that England? Is that in England?" Stoke and Trent still was at the back of the burner, and unrecognized really as a part of England, really. But today it's much different from what it was in my days when I came here. The wages in those days, it was about £10 a week. 20 pounds a week. You had to work overtime to get £20 a week. You could get a property in Stoke and Trent for about £1,000. You know, 2 up and 2 down, about £1,000. So, you know, it's very hard work in those days, very hard.
My husband came here December 1958, and I came here July 1959. And my husband, he came to Birmingham and was there for about 6 months working into this engineering place. So actually it closes and we move up to Stoke here in the December. And actually he got a job working in the pit. And it was about 6 months after I came here before I got a job. Because in those days, job was plentiful. But with black people just coming, some people would have jobs and say, well, oh, there's no vacancy, but others do give jobs. The most job that was plentiful at that time, in 1958-59, was the pot bank. But I didn't really want to go to work in a pot bank. I always liked to work in a hospital to care for people. So I got a job in Leek Moorlands, and that was in the December 1959. It was a monthly wages, and my first pay package was 6 weeks' wages, because once you started into the month, halfway in the month, you got to wait until the other month before you get. So it's 6 weeks work. And I remember my first wage packet was £32, and that was for six weeks work. But at that time, money could go quite a far way. You could spend and you could buy a lot of food, and we used to go out parties, and we used to go everywhere, Blackpool and all those seaside places at weekend. You know, and really we used to have some good entertainment then, and got enough money to save, and we bought a house, which at 20 Grove Place, quite a big house as well, in Grove Place in Shelton. And there and then after that we save, yes, and send for the 3 children back home.
Step out and let us party.
We thought it was paved with gold, but it wasn't as good as we thought, you know. And I remember it was in October. I was walking in Bursley, and it was so blinking cold going up on Sleet Street. And I thought, tears came to my eyes, and I was crying, and I said, Lord, what have I done to myself to leave a place like sunny Jamaica and to come to a place like this? It was, we went to pit. They says it was pit work. He said it wasn't an easy job. And I thought, well, I never know what it is to do big dirty work. But I'm going to give you this, and this is not, it's quite serious. Take it serious. I said, well, it's funny. I said, in Jamaica, white men, I've never seen them do hard work. They either got our office jobs and dressed in white and well this and have a good job. So I said, I never do these type of hard work because I was grown up not to be that rough. But I said, if these English chap can do it, my God, Maurice, I'm sure you can do it. So I did my first job in the pit at Sneed Colliery, you know. I got another friend that lives up the road here, Watlands Avenue, very nicely. That's my brother, my best friend. We're like brothers. And we went into youth work. Myself and Aaron Ice was the two first black guys that get into youth and community work in the city here.
Well, when I came here, we came here in 1962. I was a young man, of course, with my wife and I. And we were in Birmingham first, and 1962, 1963, the weather, we've never seen no winter like that. I don't know if you was around at that time. It's the worst winter we've ever seen. However, what happened, later on, I had friends in this area, and I decided to move to Stoke and Trent, which I'm glad we did, because we noticed our children has done better in the country than in the big city. So in 1963, we moved over here, and then we purchased our first house. We've been here over 40 years, aren't we, Del? And of course, we grown up our children here, and they went to university and good school. I was working at the Michelin. I've been working there for 30 years. Also my wife, we used to work on shift. So it was very hard at the time, because when I am coming in, my wife is going out. And so we were like buses moving out to one another. It was very hard. But anyway, we did manage. And I worked there for 30 years as production until later on I became painter and decorator. And that was my job until I left there. Yes.
Started on the railway and then to wrist wires and cables at Newcastle. Left there and went to Michelin, 17 years. And we left redundant at the Michelin. I've gone self-employed because I'm a builder by trade. Get a job here and a job there, and when you're young, you was getting no money. Because teenager was over getting £1.25. So I used to keep a lot of party, hire places and keep party, and that's when we meet your dad in the music business as well. Because he was in the music business. Because you could make something out of music. You know, selling paper, selling music, having parties and charge people come in. You know, small money, but better than working. A 9-to-5 job, you know. So I went that for a few years. And went to a lecture on here, a man talking called Sierra Lord James. I don't know if you hear that man before. Sierra Lord James was a man who wrote a book called Beyond the Boundary. And he was lecturing at Earl's Court. And he was talking about the connection between Africa and the Caribbean and England, which I didn't really take much notice of when I was younger. And then I went to do some work at the West Indian World newspaper and read a lot about, check the politics of the paper, I realized there was a lot of problem here, which I never really noticed before. So by reading the paper and go sell advertisement to them, but I didn't get paid to sell the paper. And just give me some paper and I do the best with them, So you give away some and you sell some. And then after a while, there were some people running a place in Seven Sister Road and called the Black Horse for a lot of youth. Because in 1961, all the young children, parents, have to get them children into England before 63. So a lot of children come up and they start to run away from home. Well, the Home Office didn't know what to do about them, So they started to give us some help to get houses, visit them at prison because the parents wouldn't visit them, really. And look after them. And I do that more or less all my life, really.
Train example 1 is City train to London Euston. Platform 1 for the intercity train to London Euston.
I came here in 1971. I came to Stoke-on-Trent and did my midwifery. And as I said, the whole idea was to go back to Jamaica. And then I went to the Place nightclub in Hanley, and the rest is history. Boy meets girl, as they would say. So I met my husband to be. So when I came to Stoke-on-Trent to work at the hospital, I then met up. There were auxiliary nurses there from Jamaica. So I've just come to, and they took me under their wings. And so I would go to this one's home on a Sunday to have dinner, and next week I'd go to another one's home, So, or any of the other midwives, from Jamaica, then they would take me home with them. And yes, I got into Staffs Union and did social work. That was back, I started in 1999. And then when I qualified, I guess I pushed myself too much, really. I then was doing 3 days work in Stafford, social work, social services there. And then I did 2 nights in the hospital as a midwife. So, that was quite stressful, and, because both jobs are very stressful. I saw just a little thing in the Sentinel, and it was, would you like to start your own business, and why not start in the market? And I guess I was a little bit toffee nose. I thought, I don't know if my hats will go down well in the market, But Nathan, my son, who was, does marketing, he said, Mom, I think that would be a good idea. It's a good start for you. Although I had the site on the internet, and I had sort of people buying off that, like people from church and so on. But it was, give me a little bit more exposure in the community here as well. So I decided that I would go for it. I went in front of the regeneration manager of Stoke-on-Trent, someone from the city council, represented, who is Robert Nixon. He's the overall manager of all the markets in Stoke-on-Trent, and then someone from business brokers. And so they ask you about why you wanted to do your business and so on and so forth. And there were 40 of us at the event, and I must say I was the only Jamaican, and I'm very proud to say that I won the first prize. The next day they rang me up. The first prize was 6 months free trading in any market of your choice in Stoke-on-Trent. So I saved myself over £1,000 by entering. Yeah.
Over the years, I became a youth warden, and I found out where it was better integrated in society. And by doing so, I became that youth warden and also involved in community work as a community lead as well. Now, over the years, we've got many, many different things happening here. Even the riots in the 80s. Myself, Maurice Williams, and Ivor Davis, which is past now, East Past, and we had the chief constable of Staffordshire came to us, and we started a lot of different things. During that time, of course, the riots cooled down when we meet the people and went and see them and having these monthly meetings and everything dissolved. However, we decided later on, as youth warden, myself, Maurice Williams, which is H.H. Williams, Herbert Ezekiah Williams, we decided to meet with our advisor from the LEA and put something to him and said, about time we have something in Cobridge.
In 1975, when my husband, he left the pit, and we took over the American pub on Waterloo Road. We really enjoyed it because we made so many friends and so many different people, and it was a really enjoyable time in that pub. And that's where we started this community to community centre from. When we were at the pub, we wanted a place for the afro-caribbean people to meet, and there was a few of the men, and we were using this church hall down the school where they got the old school down Elder Road, the bottom of Elder Road, and we decided to make a coffee evening at the centre gathered some money for this centre, and it was upstairs on our pub that we met quite a few of us. It was about 10 people, and the first £15 we gathered, the first £15 towards started getting our community centre going. And from then on, my husband used to, he's got this van, and he got his music centre, and we travel everywhere. We make parties, sound system we used to call, with the big boxes and that, and all different places we rented to make weekend parties, so that we can gather some money towards this community centre.
Well, it was a means of promotion and people getting together, working together, and especially we get the young lads, the young groups trying to come together and try to be mannerable. Stoke and Adult Community Centre, that was one of our fundamental centres as well. But that helped us, that was backed to the community by Leslie Barnes and stuff and so on, you know. They backed us having youth club, running youth clubs. And then when I went as well to Michelin gives me a good support, and Harry and I, he says, well, it's nice to see, lads, what you're doing to develop the community, help to develop the community, you know. And Michelin give us a good support.
And it so happened that we had a chap called Ivor Davis, which I mentioned. He's the
father of it. When he's a Welshman, but when he came around, he teaches adult education, you know, Asians and everybody. Right down here in Osaka East, that's where we started. And for some reason, he keep on approaching me and says he want to get us organized. We had cricket team then, them days, and he got involved. It did help. So we started off creating this Corbridge Community Multicultural Association that's inclusive of everybody. Then picked up because those were the days you couldn't remember when we didn't have anywhere to go except Waterloo Road down the cellar and things like that, which the police always after them. I never too involved. Then we got organized really in the association. Police was involved and picked up from there, and fortunately we applied to the urban aid for some money to buy a whole building, and they give us the first 35,000 to acquire a building. We acquire one down beside the mitre, it's all knocked down. No one, we had it, but it cost that much to repair. So we had to sell it. And we had a windfall, we bought it for about 40,000. That is with the grant we had. And then they sold it for 125,000. But we're strict angling, we invested the money and they held in trust. That's why we have 3 holding trustees. We have trustees of the charity, but 3 holding trustees, and the money invested in their name and our behalf. And I said, well, at least we want a community center from it. And I had the support, some of them really, not a lot, that we should go for a community center.
The new part opened in 1981, but we've been up and going years and years before that. We've been going, but the new part that we built on, it officially opened in 1981.
When we found this place, the TTMA from grassroots, she was with us from the day and the grassroots, and she has been a secretary right along.
I'm speaking as someone who doesn't come very often to the lunch club, but I would say that it's most important because it's bringing different communities together.
Well, it's very important because people depend on this day when it's open to come and have lunch here. And of course, this is the part of the community.
I was brought up in Coleridge, so it's never left me, you know. Brilliant, the people are brilliant, yes. I don't go nowhere else, only here.
I think sometimes our young people, they look around and they're saying, well, you know, you haven't got any shops, you haven't got any this, you haven't got any that, as Caribbean people and other communities have. But we have done a lot, you know, and it's for them to build on that for future generations. So I think it's very important.
You've got a domino team that does come in. And they do make a lot of noise, but they do enjoy themselves. No.
Carry on. What's the game? 3-1. Never mind, you just play one. That one for you.
So which one? I would know we got it.
No one.
This is on the
My father is the founder of the Park Mountain School in St. Elizabeth. And I went home to Jamaica and I went to the school to see the headmistress. It's got to do with some paper to sign land deeds for her to help us with that, and I went there and we get talking, and I went to school barefooted. And after all these years, they're still going to school barefooted, so we make no progress. And I said to the headmistress, I'll do something when I go back to England, and to help with whatever way we can to help the school. I came back and I spoke to Sharon, and I told her the story, and she says, what can we do? She says, well, we do what we always done, do something about it. And then from there, we decided that we would set up this organization
called Midlands Jamaica Aid. And we sent shipment of computers and books and pencils and various things we sent home to that particular school.
A charity as well I get involved in with Midlands Jamaica Aid actually is the organisation, along with Money Ann and a few other members we're involved in. We'll raise money for that charity, and we actually send electronic equipment such as computers and things for schools over in that particular country, so I'm involved in that.
Hallelujah. Most West Indians, they are religious people. They were religious people back in the West Indies. And when they came here, of course, there was no black church around, and there was not so much welcoming in the white people's church. So when I came here, I decided to start it to get them together and start preaching and witnessing and having Bible studies in the homes, in the dwellings, and so on, and establishing the home in Tunstall, 13 Clive Street, Tunstall. This is where the church has really started, really. And it outgrown the house, and we had to look around for premises to fellowship, to worship. Actually, it was used by Jehovah's Witnesses. And they left it, and they bought a new place, and they left it, and so I heard about it. And I came and speak about it, and then of course I got it for rent. Then I've been here for some years, and I got it. The landlord to sell it to me. To purchase this premises. It was in a dilapidated condition. An old building. It was really an old workshop. I had to work so hard to get it to what it is today. Because people are surprised to know that it could ever been what it is today. Before I started working it. So it's been coming from a mighty long way with this property. The first black church in Stoke and Trent. I used to, when I came here, I used to witness even among the white people as well. And I had a good gathering, good following of white people who used to come to my preaching, my ministry, and so on until I had able to gather a congregation of people.
God is worthy. We want to bless His holy name. Glory to the name of the Lord. Hallelujah. It is to you I give the glory. It is to you I give the praise. For you have done so much for me, and I will magnify your name. Praise your name.
heaven, thank you for giving us mothers. They have got a special place in our hearts, and the memories of yesterday will never leave us. They will stay with us forever. Our mothers have loved and cared for us. They are virtuous women of honor who made sacrifices and gave their all in making our lives happy. We thank you for them. And they have served you with love and faithfulness, and they have left a legacy of godliness with us so that we know who we are in you and who you are. We can recognize your sovereignty and your greatness, and we can say, Abba, Father, to you. Thank you, our Father, for these mothers, and we pray that you will bless them and help them, that they will continue to honor you.
Hallelujah.
There is no other God.
My husband, being the builder he is, and was working in people's houses that was falling to pieces, and young lads were sleeping on each other's floor and that sort of thing. So we decided to campaign to start doing something about the misrepresentation of the black population here in Stoke and Trent where housing is concerned. And we decided to do something about it and started from there.
The People House was in so much disrepair that they needed to not have grants anymore, but they needed to have their name down on that.
We did lots of research first. We went to various places across the country, to London, Birmingham, Wolverhampton, to various places, to
Leicester,
Manchester, to prove that there is a need for a black-led housing association. So that's how, when we did that, then we went to the director to say, it's happening everywhere else, why not Stoke and Trent?
So we set up the Blue Mountain Housing Association, which we ran it for many years, and we looked after lots of refugees, but not necessarily the refugees. It's kicked off when the Montserrat evacuees. You get it?
Yeah, there was volcano in Montserrat, which sort of annihilated most of the island, and we had England, because the Munsterations, they're British subjects, so England was then taking most of the evacuees, and we housed quite a few, and we actually had quite a few of them straight off the plane. We had houses in Stafford that we managed for the county council, so we got the houses prepared, and we housed quite a few of them, and but in that time you had to prepare everything for them because they came without anything. They landed with basically nothing, because not even a suitcase or anything, so we had to prepare everything, including food.
The Housing Association doesn't want to benefit single people or homeless people or refugees. It's move on, because we were advocate for primarily black people again in the city, and as Sharon said, they didn't know, they didn't want us to say black. They didn't have a black policy in the city council. They didn't know what that is, and we got was to talk to them about it.
Well, not black policy, equal opportunity.
Equal opportunity.
Equal opportunity policies was not a thing that was happening in Stoke-on-Trent until we made it. We made the city council. Well, I personally made the city council aware of it, and I can remember faxing them equal opportunities policy so that they could see what it was about, and that is how they came to adopt it. And now it's a legal thing everywhere. But Stoke-on-Trent was not a place that had that initially. So that is something that, we brought to Stoke-on-Trent's awareness through the City Council.
Step out and let us party. Violence free, leave your gun and start it. When you go down, girl, don't get naughty. From your want to baby, let us start it. Step out and let us party. Violence free, leave your gun and start it.
To be honest, it's been going for at least 17 years. Founded by some of the guys from Stoke-on-Trent who felt that there was a need to have a facility for the wider community. And so they managed to get this, which was a disused school, and basically renovated it. And many of those initial individuals who started it are still very much involved. On a day-by-day basis, people may drop in to ask about issues around immigration, issues about housing, issues about CVs. It could be anything, like any community organization. And of course, then individuals will drop in to be involved in a chess club or computer club, or somebody may just come in to have an interview.
I came here in the 60s. And I've always lived in Stoke. Obviously, it's a lot better for the black community because when I came here, there was a lot of racism in Stoke, just like everywhere else. But the younger generation and us, we're breaking the barrier down, so it isn't as bad. It is still there because the BNP people are around, and it is still there, but it isn't as bad. Because take for instance, when we went to buy a house, 40 odd years ago, and we were told that they wouldn't be able to live it down because we're black. The neighbours wouldn't be able to live it down because we're black, and they wouldn't sell us the house. That was 40 years ago. Now it's different.
I'm a Jamaican. My descendant, people from Jamaica. Jamaica motto is out of many one people. Now Jamaicans are made up of Chinese, Indian, black, white, everybody, African, every nationality. From the onset, where the African, when the slavery and African were settled in Jamaica, you have the Arawaks, Indian, you got Spaniards.
Previous, we had nowhere to go, and now at least there's somewhere for Stoke-on-Trent. It's a mixed community, it's mixed race. And there's somewhere for everybody to attend and feel very comfortable.
Well, initially it was called Blue Mountain, and it was looking specifically at caring for the elderly, in more of a caring kind of setting. But like any project, it has evolved to deal not just with the elderly, but with the youth and just the wider community. And so now what we have is a whole range of activities, ranging from computer classes to luncheon club. We're responsible for the 6 Down 1 City Carnival.
I said bring it up and give me girl, don't stop whine. Hey, make them know you're physical, one of a kind, body fine. Bring it up and give me girl. Stop whining.
The carnival is all about bringing the community together. You hardly see a chance for the whole community to just come together and celebrate its diversity, celebrate relationships, celebrate having fun, celebrating all that kind of stuff. There's no real outlet for a community to do that. So a carnival is a great way of just bringing people together and having fun and celebrating different cultures and different people's backgrounds and stuff like that.
That's how we push the gospel. We don't this is another one dance. We just push the gospel. Fully prepared. Tell the devil to war. Never be disappointed. Tell them to touch not the Lord anointed. I have a mission and it must be completed. I won't get sidetracked and frustrated because war me a different and a drama. Can't lose me and an easy character. All demonic force me not afraid of because the chosen and like it and armor.
Music, costume, sport and food. Just a taste of what this year's £6 One City Carnival in Stoke-on-Trent will have on offer.
Hundreds and hundreds of hearts, so hundreds and hundreds of cutting out, lots and lots of sparkle. Just at it, day and night.
And how long does it take you to make this so far?
Weeks this is start.
Weeks.
Yeah.
I love the costumes. I think carnival isn't a carnival without a costume.
Go on, give us a shimmy. Yeah!
Got it out there. This is Sat now.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Angie.
Welcome to Nafarka.
Thank you.
So Angie prepares all the food with her team, wonderful team for every carnival every single year, and the food is absolutely amazing.
This is the highlight of carnival. So if you don't have food, then you can't have a proper carnival.
And how important is it to really use the proper cultural food as a way of sort of celebrating everything that is Afro-Caribbean and everything that is carnival?
It's very important because, again, we want the community to see the food that we eat, how it is from the beginning of Memorial where carnival take place. So when you have someone like in Stoke-on-Trent who probably have never been abroad and able to taste the food, that for them, I want to come back next week, or let's go up to Nasaka.
The carnival, what it does, it actually brings mainly the Caribbean community out. It gives the community a taste of the Caribbean. Basically, you can see the sounds, the smells, the music. People just love it.
I'm very proud of seeing so many attend, Stoke-on-Trent people, because we associate with one another, we work together, it's a family.
We felt it was important that anything that we do is inclusive. So it represents what Stoke is really all about, which is united strength is really stronger. And so whether it be the carnival or whether it be the luncheon club or whether it be the youth club, for instance, our youth club is called POW, P-O-W, People of the World. And if you look at the picture of the youth, there's all sorts of characters that are there, and there's that kind of stuff. And that's really the ethos of what we're really about here.
Playing the glass on the strings, people ask me where did I get that idea from. Well, Panton Morris, who was one of the first Jamaicans to come over here and settle in Stoke-on-Trent in the 50s, who lived in Shepherd Street, Stoke, and then he moved to London Road in Stoke. I became very, very big friends with him. In fact, he would eventually sort of take me round one or two of the pubs and clubs where he played guitar, and I would play a little bit of rhythm guitar to him. And one of his party tricks was to put the guitar on his knee and play with a glass, even a beer glass. And of course, I would borrow that idea and adapt it to rock and roll. And of course, I'm always grateful to Panton Morris for the simple reason I used to watch him pick guitar. That's why I, with the exception of Wineglass Rock, I don't use plectrum. I just picked guitar, and it is the old-fashioned sort of claw-hammer style that Panton used to play. Panton ought to have been a big star, actually. He used to entertain round one or two of the pop banks and pubs, and eventually he ended up performing in the churches, the Baptist churches round here. Sadly, he's no longer with us, but he's with me, within me. Big thank you to Panton.
Our Ken Lewis, the playwright. One is about the story of Nelson Mandela. One is about the Maroons, some people who in the Caribbean who have a revolution, right? The White Witch of Rosal was a famous woman who owned 1,000 slaves back in the Caribbean, and 5 husbands, and was the richest woman of the Caribbean at one time. And the one about society, one about the deeds where some people come from Jamaica and want to go back home and over some land, some family land. And the last one is about going home. A man there for 50 years, and then he wanted to go home. And he was telling all his story while he was here, and in the end, he never get to go home. He dropped dead in his chair. Brilliant play, man. He get standing ovation for him. That's Mr. Lewis.
Oh, so you're the...
And we call him Boxer.
You're the amazing playwright.
Yes.
Have you sat and spoken together? Have you bless you. Did you stutter all the way through it? Did you stutter all the way through it?
It was worse, yeah, it was worse. I got a stroke, so I could, it's just getting better. But we still have to fight. Although I got a stroke, but I got to fight to find myself anyway. I've got a short film called Community High to teach young people about the issues currently going on in the modern society, as nobody else is doing so. Young people don't do anything constructive at the moment, so we plan to give them the guidance, direction, confidence, cultural knowledge, and to boost this self-esteem through those process of completing this project. We will endure for people from all races, cultures and background to learn about each other in a positive way. By working together on this project, we want to promote the community spirit for every member of the community, regardless of their upbringing or ethnic group. It's wonderful what I've done, and work with all those people. The teachers know. It's very satisfying to know that I do the work. I'm very, very grateful.
You know, I'm passionate about the area I live in. I know a lot of people tend to disrespect or put Stoke-on-Trent at the bottom of the pile. I know some government report some time ago said that probably one of the worst places in the country to live. I totally disagree with that, because the people of Stoke-on-Trent are the most generous, most warm, thoughtful people, I think, in the country. And anybody who knows Stoke-on-Trent, who's visited here, would agree with that. our industries has eroded away, such as the pottery industry, our steel industry, our coal mining. All those things have gone. But you know what? It's an ever-changing world, you know, and we do have to, it's either do or die sometimes. You have to change and you have to adapt, you have to move, you have to reskill. And, you know, I think that Stoke-on-Trent will bounce back. There are pottery firms currently who are reporting, you know, record profits, like Port Marion, for example. You know, Emma Bridgewater, those sort of local companies who are exporting and putting Stoke-on-Trent on the map. So, you know, it annoys me when people write our area off, and I do think that we have a lot to offer in terms of, you know, our worth ethics, and also just being warm and sort of generous people, really.
I look at Stoke as a wonderful opportunity to develop projects and ideas and stuff like that. And even the short time that I've been here, I've seen personally so many changes that has taken place all across the city. Not all driven, by the way, by people from the African-Caribbean community, but some of this stuff, yeah. So yeah, the contribution has been significant and should indeed be recognized. In fact, in October, we always celebrate here in the city. We have a very good Black History Month program. Historically, England as a country is renowned for its multiculturalism. And what makes Britain great, I believe, is its multiculturalism.
Better future than what we've got in the past. Because we've got a mixture group now, whether they're white, blue or yellow. I know, so we see people that are working together. I'm not forgetting about color and this and that and that. And I think that's what we want, you know. So we both have a better future. And as the younger ones come up, if they could continue like this, we'll have a brighter future. I'm sure. That's why I see things, you know. I might be wrong, you know.
Go on, got it. Keep your goals inside. Time to go forth, help out your fambo. You know Jimmy Cliff don't sit in limbo. No depend on racers, Latin or bingo. No waste of space, same so the thing go. Time for action, uplift your nation. Your little fraction, big contribution. Your determination, help the generation. Young man, where you are wait for? Trod on, fight this a rough whole life. Remember mama say fi make sacrifice. Trod on now, keep on doing the right. Hold you with I keep your goals in sight. Trod on, fight this a rough whole life. Remember papa say fi make sacrifice. Trod on now, keep on doing the right. Hold you with I keep your goals in sight. Trod on, fight this a rough whole life. Remember papa say fi make sacrifice. Trod on now, keep on doing the right. Hold you with I keep your goals in sight.